Startup Week, the first inaugural Northern Michigan Startup Week. And then we also have our presentations for Techstars Startup Weekend. We've got our teams ready to go. So we're going to start with a quick recap of our week, and we'll recognize some of the folks that made that happen. So first, we started off slightly out of order. So May 11th, we had the Startup Expo and Community Celebration that was put on by 20 Fathoms over by the bay there. And that was a great event that celebrated our great startup ecosystem we have going here. Eric Roberts with 20 Fathoms and Carrie and the rest of the 20 Fathoms crew put on a great event. It was very classy. We had roaming caterers. So that was a super event. Everyone enjoyed that. May 12th, we had the University Idea Showcase put on right here, where we had several great universities participate, some amazing teams and winners that night. Thank you to everyone that participated on the 12th. Followed by on the 13th, again here we had Northwest Michigan Student Pitch Competition put on by Jennifer and TC New Tech, who are here. Yes, Jennifer, there you go. And then we actually started with Space Night on May 9th over at the Denners Museum at Northwestern Michigan College. A big thank you to NMC and all the generous support they've had for this week. They've been a great champion of the startup ecosystem and our Northern Michigan Startup Week this week. A thank you to Nick Nesley, and who is here as a judge. And now we are ready for the Techstars Startup Weekend presentation portion. We've got three great teams, like I said, and we have Jay Cooper, who is going to head up that portion tonight. Jay?
All right. I'll take that. All right. How's everyone doing this evening? Good. Are we excited to hear some fun pitches? That's awesome. Excellent. Well, like I said, my name is Jay Cooper. I'm from Iowa City, Iowa. I am a Techstars Startup Weekend facilitator. I go all over the country leading events like this. So I've been pretty much, I've been everywhere except the East Coast at this point. I was out in the West Coast about 6 weeks ago, been down to Texas a couple times, and kind of doing the Midwest circuit right now. So kind of, I guess, a little bit more about myself. Entrepreneurial ecosystem builder back in Iowa City, Iowa. We actually are having a startup weekend there mid-July, so that should be a lot of fun. It'll be my fifth time organizing that back in Iowa City. So something fun to look forward to as we move along this summer. So we have prizes, or we have a winning prize for our winning team. It's worth over $11,000. It's a lot of really cool services. Got some legal services, $2,500 worth of legal services from Meyer Law. We've got a 3 free year-long co-working membership at Commonplace. That's valued at $5,400. And then Blue Web Creative is giving us some web development services and additional startup consulting services valued at $4,000. So let's give these folks a round of applause, because this is amazing. So we have a handful of judges down here. So it's not Shark Tank. We went over this a little earlier. You're not scary. You're just here to help them and get some answers. So why don't we go through, and I will have the judges introduce who would like to go first. You want to start that in? All right. And there's Mike.
I'm Dave Benjamin. I'm the president and CEO of the Grand Traverse Regional Community Foundation.
I'm Amy Olds. I am Business Development Manager and Business Coach for Venture North Funding and Development. I'm Ashley Sloat. I run a patent boutique in town and looking forward to seeing all of your pitches.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nick Nisley, and I serve as the president of Northwestern Michigan College.
Hi, everyone. I'm Patty Glaza, and I'm the managing director of an organization called ID Ventures. That's based in Detroit. Everyone, I'm Tina McKeon, and I'm former executive director of Northern Michigan Angels and current chairman of the board.
Okay, so thank you, judges. Thank you for being here. We have 3 areas that our teams were working on that the judges are going to be basing their decisions off of. So those 3 areas are validation, execution and design, and business model. So what is validation? How do they validate? So did they actually get out and talk to people this weekend? That was the big thing we kind of discussed and had everyone leave the building in order to talk to people and find out, are they actually solving a problem that's not just a problem for the person who pitched the idea, but it's a problem for others in the community that would like some sort of solution for it. And also whether these teams have actually identified the target market that they will hopefully eventually sell these ideas to. Execution and design. Do you actually have an MVP, a minimum viable product? So we may see screenshots from an app, we may see physical products, we may see something in its earliest stages. And then the design of those products, is it easy to use? Is it easier to use than whatever people are cobbling together right now as kind of a haphazard solution? And then finally, the business model. How do they plan on making this thing a successful business rather than just a side hustle or maybe a hobby that generates a few $100s here or there? It's something that could actually maybe go and become a full-time founder with. So are they actually solving a problem, and is their idea actually unique? Are they not reinventing Uber or reinventing Google or that sort of thing? Because we already have those things. So what we're going to do, you're going to hear pitches from the 3 different teams. They will then, once the teams have pitched, I'll take the 6 judges off into another room. We will discuss what we liked, what kind of scores each of the teams got, and then we'll come back and award 3rd, 2nd, and 1st place. And here's our pitch order. So we're going to have the Self-Education Alliance, SEA, up first, and then A to B, and then we'll wrap things up with Beyond Forests. So one of the things we do back in Iowa that I really, really enjoy, something called the pre-standing ovation. So we get all of the energy to the front of the room before the speaker starts. So standing ovations are great at the end, but get that pre-standing ovation and fill the room full of energy. So everyone get on your feet and let's welcome SEA. Come on up.
We start now? All right. So I'm Joshua Myers, and this is Bailey Golden and Monica Trevino. And this weekend we worked on the Self-Educators Alliance, which could revolutionize higher education. All right. So the problem, the universities have a monopoly on higher education. This means that they can overcharge without meeting student needs. And as a result of this, you can see that student enrollment is declining over, how do I use the laser? Is that it? There we go. Student enrollment has declined by about 2 million since 2015, and it's declining even faster during the pandemic years. So it seems like there's a big market for some sort of alternative to college, which is cheaper. And also, if you look at this, the people who did graduate, who are still going to college, 36% of them graduate with a ton of debt, and 39% are not even sure if their degree was worth the money. So we need some sort of alternative. So the solution to this is already here, almost. The solution is you just learn yourself outside of college. And there's a ton of resources for this already. There's YouTube and Wikipedia. There's open courses, libraries and books. You can find tutors or study groups on Craigslist. You can go to meetups, events, or whatever. The list goes on and on. It's more possible than ever before to get a good education outside of school. there's just one thing. So why don't we see more people doing this? Why don't we see lots of students just pursuing their education on their own terms? Well, there's one thing missing. Actually, there's three things missing. So the first thing is you need some kind of community to do this. You can't just do this by yourself. You need to compare techniques, pool resources, learn with other people. You can't really get a good education by yourself. And it's pretty complicated to navigate all these different resources that aren't just in one place. So you need a community to help you with this. Secondly, you need a credential system so that you can make your learning visible, show the public what you've been learning so it's not just in your head. Thirdly, we need a way of getting scholarships to students who are independent students, not enrolled. Right now, you can only get a scholarship if you are a student enrolled in a university. Our MVP just focuses on the first one of these.
So currently there is nothing on the market that is being offered like what we are offering. So we're providing a unique platform to bring that community to the learning experience. This is where they can find mentors, mentees, study groups, and collaborators. They're going to be a part of a community that actually values their learning experience, and they're going to be able to curate learning opportunities and materials through this platform. So we've done VOC work. This weekend, we talked to 11 individuals. Of those 11 individuals, 100% of them expressed concern and negative feelings with the current educational system. Those ages ranged all the way down to 14 years old and all the way up to 73 years old, because everybody is a stakeholder in education. Some major problems that we identified is cost and access, and there's no teaching of practical skills like balancing a checkbook. That one came up a lot, and not being offered individualized teachings. 63% of those individuals said that cost or access had prevented them from learning or obtaining education. So who's our target market? For our MVP, we are targeting adults 18 plus who are passionate about learning. We believe that diversity enriches the educational experience, so we do welcome adults of all ages and all walks of life. Revenue and initial growth. So we will operate with a peer-to-peer business model, utilizing a monthly subscription fee of $4.99. We will attract users and build traction through word of mouth and online marketing. And this is also going to gain value. The more users that are on the platform, the more valuable it becomes to the user. So let's talk a little bit about what our platform looks like. So first off, we have a people section. So this is kind of like a profile. They can say their study, their focus, what they're interested in, and what they're looking for from the platform. We then have a marketplace set up. This is going to connect mentors to mentees, form those study groups and collaborators, and also work on like crowdsourcing projects. We then have a material section. This is a repository of educational materials. And finally, we have an event section. This is just where you can see things going on in person or virtual near you. We do have a plan. We're going to build micro-credentials to incentivize learning and also make it transparent in 2 to 3 years, then gain philanthropic buy-in to supply funding for learners interested in social impact. So education means to bring out and lead forth. We believe that that platform is doing just that. Think about this platform and think about this. What if the key to a major social issue is trapped in the mind of somebody that cannot afford or does not have access to higher education? Thank you.
Judges, you have 5 minutes.
First of all, I love the presentation. I love the idea because I think it needs to happen. But how do you, so obviously to aggregate content and for there to be, that's a huge job all in and of itself, right? To have that the page that you showed of material, how do you plan to seed that material or have access to that material through your platform?
So it's going to act as a repository. So there are actual websites out there that act as a repository mining system that will curate that content and allow it to provide easier access to individuals, but also that content will come from the individuals using that platform.
I have a question. As a college president, I especially appreciate your boldness and your courage. Truly to be applauded. When you talked about those 3 sort of weak links of community and credentials, I heard you speak to those, But that third one around scholarships for independent students, I didn't see that on your marketplace, and I'm just curious, what are you thinking about in terms of that scholarships for independent students?
There's going to be two parts to this. So that is a structure that we're going to work on. We don't know if we want to go the accreditation route because that puts it in the state's hands, that institutionalizes that, and that's what we're kind of trying to get away from. And I'm also going to let my partner answer here.
For scholarships, what was your question about scholarships?
Yeah, just how do you think that might be, how you might go about that? Because the other two
Yeah.
areas speak.
I think it's a great sell to philanthropists. There's already a ton of philanthropists giving money to students who are trying to learn because they just think it's a social good to fund people's education. This is a great sell for them because now they can directly fund people to learn without having to go through the middleman of the university. And they can, in fact, even pay people to learn the things that they think are important.
What have you, oh, sorry. I want to first applaud you on just the idea and the problem that you stated and the customers that you talked to. What have you done to determine that the competition, that isn't already an offering out there similar?
So as far as competition, so there are services that are, like for example, you have Meetup. That's kind of one of the services that we provide in terms of events. You have Coursera, you have Udemy, you have a ton of platforms out there. But the real seller here is that community aspect, which I think some nonprofits may be driving towards that, but you don't have a single platform that basically integrates everything together. So this is what that's trying to accomplish, and this is what really brings everything. It puts everything in a little nice package for the community and it's open to everyone.
So I have a question as it relates to users. So as you're building this and you're creating that community piece of it, you're building in the piece where they can also meet in person. So what is success to you at a startup standpoint? Like how many users do you need to say we're figuring this out, we know what we're doing? And then how many users do you have at the point you're figuring out that you're ready to scale it?
So the initial KPIs is just going to be not really based on users and clicks like that, but how many communities are forming, how fast those repositories are building. So really it's going to be based around materials. The users is an aspect of that, but it's what are you really offering to the users that's going to be really important as a KPI measurement. And then as far as scaling goes, that's not going to come with like, okay, we have 500 users. Now we're ready to build a micro-credential system. That's going to come with structure and expertise that we bring in. And then also the kind of word of mouth traction, like how many people are talking about this when we're ready to go to that credibility, the next step to that micro certification system. Did I answer your question?
Follow on to the users. 18 plus is a huge, it's not very targeted. So if you were to put out a marketing message to say, this is the group we really want to, who is going to really hone in on this community, they're really going to join. What do you think that marketing message might be? Or what's that tag that really gets a little bit more targeted on who you're trying to reach at first?
So I understand what you're saying, that you want to niche this down to target a market. But with something like this, with this platform, you don't want to discourage anybody from this. And you have to think about the fact that you have really young people that are interested in learning, and then non-traditional students that go back to college that would utilize this platform as well. So as far as what that would look like to niche the market, to target to target market like that, we're not really sure what that structure would look like at this point. So that's something that we would really need to develop and really do a study on to see what's going to be best for us.
Yeah, just real quick. Are you thinking about taking this outside of the United States, or is this something that is strictly limited to our country?
Not sure yet.
But it definitely can be, right? As long as we continue to grow and we have that network effect and we do find value, because in any other country you have those self-taught learners that can really take advantage of the platform. So I don't think it should be restricted, but it does come with time. We first need to make sure that the customers actually like it in the United States, and then we can expand to other countries.
And that's it. Thank you very much. Good job. All right. We're doing that pre-standing ovation thing again. So everyone get up on your feet. Let's welcome A to B.
All right. Hello, we're here to bring you A to B. But first, let me ask you something. Raise your hand if you deeply enjoy running errands. Nobody? We got one. Okay. Yeah. So, unless you want to get out of the house, no one enjoys having to deal with the stress of traffic and people, congestion, and lost time. So, I live in Harbor Springs. It's about 90 minutes north of Traverse City. A few months ago, I was down here doing some shopping, and my neighbor, Hannah, asked if I'd stop by Target and pick up her online order. Of course, I had no problem doing this. This trip saves Hannah 4 hours and 6 gallons of gas. In fact, just last year in the United States alone, 135 billion gallons of gas was consumed. That's 369 million gallons per day. And 45% of that was running errands. So we got thinking, how many people are traveling similar routes and while running their errands? What if we could see others' orders that need transportation on routes that are similar to ours? What if, for example, while at Walmart, we could be notified that our neighbor has a pickup order and we could get paid to drop it off to them? So we get paid to make a trip we're already making, and the consumption of gas gets cut in half. So today, that's exactly what we're bringing you. A2B is a socially intelligent application that crowdsources delivery service based on similar geographic routing. Users can actively monitor the app for online orders or simply receive a push notification when they walk into a store. That is, when I walk into a Target, I can be notified that Bill has placed an online order. I see that Bill's address is on the way home, so I accept the contract and get paid to drop his stuff off. This makes me money, it saves time for Bill, and it reduces carbon emissions. So currently, you can have Instacart pick up your groceries, DoorDash pick up your lunch, or you could hire an errand running service that costs $100 per hour. In every case, you contract with a company that deploys drivers. A2B opens the market to everyone that is out already running personal errands. This facilitates peer-to-peer transactions and will drastically reduce carbon emissions. Similar to Airbnb, the revenue model, we will charge a 4% transaction fee. So how does this app work? This is a representation of the app's interface. The blue objects here are the store and order locations. The gold stars here represent the location of where the package needs to be delivered to. So when a user clicks on an order, both the route is displayed. Let me go back here. Both the route is displayed and some basic contract information, such as the contract price, which is based on the distance. Once a contract is accepted, the customer is notified and the driver's GPS location is tracked from A to B. To activate a contract, the customer simply needs to upload an online confirmation number and the contract becomes active for the drivers to see. So my name is Rourke. This is Daniel and Manny, and we are moving delivery solutions from A to B. Thank you.
Judges, you have 5 minutes.
Take this out. All right.
I can start us off again. Nice job, gentlemen. So 2 things. Did you talk to anybody about, whether they would want to use this? And then 2, I don't know if it's super clear to everybody, but maybe you could explain how I make money by using your stuff? So you explained how the business makes money, but how do I make money by using your service?
Yeah, I can take that. So I guess the first part of the question, we'll go out and do customer validation. We asked open-ended questions about, do you enjoy running errands? And obviously, that's a no. Aside from that, we also found that people are very open to actually, picking up their neighbors' goods or people that are near to them, and driving them back to them. And so we thought, well, obviously this would be a good way for them to monetize, off of that transmission, or that transportation. And the second part of the question, which was how does the drivers make money themselves? So they would go onto they're in the store, they get that notification, or they're in the local region, and they see these contracts, right, that have a price based on the distance the package to the address would be. And so they would be getting effectively delivery fees paid to them. And that would cover, their gas costs plus some, as well as getting, reduction on the goods that they're buying at a store. So I think about it, you go to your local donut shop, you realize your neighbor, Jane, ordered donuts there, you take her donuts back to her and your donuts are then free.
Sure. Yeah. So you can think of a trip that may cost somebody $20 in gas to make a round trip. They're willing to have that delivered and pay somebody $10. $10 comes out of their pocket, goes to the driver. They make $10, covers half their gas for a trip they would already make. So it's kind of meeting in the middle and kind of greasing everybody's wheels there and reducing round trip, thereby reducing carbon emissions by half just for that one route. Now, the person that is delivering could aggregate some other products and may effectively pay for their whole trip and more. So there's an incentive for the deliverer and an incentive for the customer in that way. And that's how the money transits through the system.
Yeah, so congratulations. I'm really super impressed by what an innovative ideas you guys are coming up with. So have you considered anything around security and safety? So you mentioned that your neighbor asked you to pick something up when you were in Traverse City, but when it comes to a complete stranger delivering things to your house, maybe food, have you taken that into account?
Sure. There's a number of services that already work in the crowdsourced field. So, and have dealt with the liability issues. Airbnb is one of them that most people would know. And they have a liability coverage that is pretty comprehensive, covering the losses and abuse and so forth. A very complete, well thought out system that is, we would not reinvent the wheel. We'd adopt some of these same insurance structures that somebody like Airbnb has, or DoorDash, or some of these other systems. So it's out there. It's a proven system, and we're talking about delivering a package from A to B, which of course would have limited liability, but it's not nothing. Yeah, I don't know if that covers enough. Anybody else want to add anything?
I have a quick question on the target market side of things. Obviously, everyone in the world has errands to run, but who would you consider as your primary and secondary customers for this?
Right. So we can talk about the whole world. That may be a little bit broad. We can start with our friends and family. Who hasn't received a phone call or made a phone call from Home Depot or some sort and say, honey, do you need anything? Well, this is, so we can start with people that we know, but it can be scaled up to people that we don't know that are socially conscious and want to help pay for some of the cost of their gases. Obviously things are being more expensive, and it's a socially conscious thing to do to help people pay for the gases and reduce emissions.
And yesterday we went and talked, customer validation. We found specifically in terms of demographics, women, with children or for family, were really receptive of bringing packages back for their friends and neighbors and family. And so I think the first target market would be that type of demographic, and then expand it and scale from there.
Just a real quick question on, I understand there's geo-tracking of phones, but would this require anytime you're going to make an errand that you would need to go on the platform so you could be tracked or people would know you're going to that store?
So the drivers would opt in to have push notifications if contracts were at the store locations you would be, and the drivers themselves would accept contracts, but the people that had delivered wouldn't be tracking drivers. So it would be on the driver's end to accept contracts.
All right. Get this switched out, and then I'm going to have everyone get on your feet one more time. One more pre-standing ovation. Let's welcome Beyond Forest.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jamie Kramer, and I'm here to present Beyond Forest. And this is my wonderful team, Larry Damon and Teresa Moore. Larry Damon helped with mobile developing, and Teresa with customer validation. So I'm going to warn you, full disclosure, we are talking about death. If anyone's uncomfortable, please leave. But my experience with death radically changed my life. So in 2006, I moved from New York City to Michigan after 3 people in a row passed away. So that left me going to 3 funerals in succession. I was experiencing intense grief, and I recognized at that moment that the only thing that was really helping me and putting me back together was spending time in nature. In fact, my grandpa left me a little message when a chickadee landed on my shoulder. So what is Beyond Forest? Well, it is a chance for people who choose cremation to spread their ashes in a forest, under a tree, or in a field of wildflowers. And nationally, statistics support this because we're at about 57% right now of people who choose cremation. In just 8 years, by 2030, that number is going to hit about 73%. Locally, of the people we interviewed, 82% of those surveyed will choose cremation. Not only the people who are choosing cremation, we're also looking at the people who have chosen cremation and ashes that are in the home. Just locally in the 5-county area, we have about 27,000 prospects with a market size of about 62 million. Our value propositions are environmental sustainability, healing in nature, legacy, affordability, and saving lands and grief programming. Right now, to put your ashes in a field of wildflowers will cost you about $300. That is $50 less than the cheapest option of burying them in a cemetery. Beyond Forest, we believe that everyone deserves a beautiful ending. The land will be protected in perpetuity. We will provide a natural space for your loved ones to visit and grieve, and you can come whenever your heart feels called. We also have created this weekend customized technology for locating your loved one's resting place and memorial sharing, so you can leave memories and your friends can too. Who are our key partners? Well, we want to work as a product inside of funeral homes and crematoriums with your estate planner when you sit down to plan for your ending. Cremation and jewelry retailers. And also we're creating a nonprofit, a 501c3 called Saving Wild Spaces, to be our land holder and as well as our grief programs guide. Our customer segments are pre-planning and those who are planning their estate, family members that Set Them Free campaign, and that's going to be on radio, television, and social media. Hospice and senior centers and churches, we plan on doing informational talks to those so we can educate them about their new prospects. The market opportunity. We have a market size, like I said earlier, of about 62 million. So we looked at the vital death statistics in the 5-county region, and we included the cremation rates, also cemeteries, burials, and the economic restraints of those involved. And at a 5% market share, we have about a little over 3 million. 10%, it was 6.2, and at 15%, a 9.2 million market share. Scalability and competition. We are not the first memorial forest in the United States. There is one from San Francisco, but since 2015, they have opened 10 forests already in the country. We will we'll beat them in affordability. Our lowest price is about $300. Theirs is close to $7. This favors our ability to scale and our business, not only in Michigan, but beyond. Our projections also show that taking only 5% of the market share will equate to about 111 spreadings per month. And that's over a 12-month cycle. So if these projections are accurate, we will need to open another forest quite soon. So beyond forest, we plan on being for you, for your loved ones, and for the earth. And I just want to give you a taste of this beautiful interface that Larry, our developer, made this weekend, and it is, fully functioning for what it is right now. Right here is your button. Thank you very much. That's Beyond Forest.
So great job. You did a great job presenting.
Thank you.
And this is an industry in high need of disruption. So what are the regulatory issues or any type of, zoning, or what are you going to have to do to get these forests set up?
Yeah, so we will need a commercial zoning, and I have no problem actually working with townships and different communities on that and finding out what their needs are and addressing those so we can make that happen. We are particularly looking at green spaces that are close to city centers. So we're hoping to get, communities who are surrounding the area really involved in the process. Also, you said zoning, and then your other question was, I'm sorry. The regulatory. It's actually quite simple in Michigan. They just need to be on private land. So what we're promising is to hold that land in perpetuity. Any other questions?
I've got a question.
Sure.
Have you thought of partnering with someone like Land Conservancy, parks, et cetera, so that you're not managing the asset of land, but you're managing the asset of the process?
100%. A few years ago, I attempted to do just that. I believe that that conservancies are working on their mission, and so it's difficult for them to come around to something that we are very interested in having them hold the easements for us.
Hi. Super interesting.
Thank you.
So acquisition of forests.
Sure.
How's capital costs? What's the, what are the numbers
so that is the main difficulty, right? So that is why we've created Saving Wild Spaces, and we're starting a 501c3. There is an extraordinary amount of interest in the Northern Michigan region for conservation, and we feel like this will allow people's needs and resources to meet up.
How have you determined that it will be cheaper? You mentioned $300.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I actually took the statistics that we talked about earlier, and I ran the cremation statistics and everything. There's only, I think, if I remember correctly, it's about a quarter of people who are cremated that are economically restrained. So I utilize the lower cost option in that, which is the wildflower option. They'll be buried in a field of they'll be mixed with local soil and bioremediated to a field of wildflowers, and then their information, their name and birth date, placed on a field stone and then in a field stone wall.
So my brain is going in about 17 different directions.
Sure, there's a lot. I know.
There is a lot.
There's a lot.
So I'm just thinking of the customers. You I think you mentioned that there's like 27,000 customers in northern Michigan that
Sure.
have ashes in their homes.
Yes, that was, I believe that's the total market share, but the majority of them, I just did a 10 year, I went back
Okay.
10, but there's more than that even.
Right. So how are you convincing that customer to give you the $300 or whatever it is?
Sure.
To have you take care of those ashes as opposed to them hang on to them?
Sure. I'm not telling them that they need to. I'm actually giving them the room and the space for whenever they're ready, that this space is available. We've never had a protected space like this available for people as a product. Most places are public lands or land. If it's personal land, it'll be sold. So this is kind of a new territory.
And to that, and we kind of talked about this during the weekend too.
Sure.
So, land and held in perpetuity, like how can you promise that? And what's also to prevent other people from just spreading ashes where they want to, like their favorite place? I know you're supposed to do it on, private lands, but I mean, nobody's going to stop me from secretly.
Oh, no. And we
myself
won't
going
stop you.
somewhere
No,
to-
and we won't. We're just providing that option. Anecdotally, I have my grandmother's neighbor put their ashes in their backyard. The wife's afraid to sell the house now because his ashes are in the backyard. Also, a friend, her father, they put him under a tree. They cut the tree down for development. These things happen all the time. We're just providing an option. You can put your ashes wherever you'd like. It's up to you, and it's very personal and individual choice. Like I said, we're just providing an option.
How do you keep the land on purpose? How do you
Sure,
promise?
an easement or a deed.
So how does that work in San Francisco?
Sure.
I'm coming at this from a couple of different angles because I also sit on the board of the Grand Traverse Regional Land Conservancy. So I'm trying to figure out, knowing what goes into just a regular easement, to conserve development rights.
Sure.
I'm just trying to figure out how you would tie ashes to development rights. So where are you guys going? Like, how does that work in San Francisco?
Sure. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to do it how they do it in San Francisco. From what I can see right now, they utilize a local conservation organization, such as the one that you work for. Here, we're just, I actually have a conservation attorney friend. She's one of 12 in the country, and it should be quite easy. Thank you.
All right. Let's give our presenters another round of applause because they all did a fantastic job today. So before I take the judges outside to talk about stuff, I'll let the judges kind of finish up their notes and everything. I want to say congratulations. You did it. Was that painful? Was that awful? Or was that a fun experience? Because everyone was worried this was going to be some sort of like Shark Tank and there was going to be like lights and music and lasers and stuff. And it wasn't. It was just you get up here, you talk about your idea, you get some feedback. It's a great process. So kind of talking specifically to our teams from this weekend, what all did you learn this weekend? Any takeaways from the weekend? That's a good one. Customer discovery, I like it. Yes? Yeah. It's always a good skill to have. Yes. Anyone else with any nuggets of wisdom? It's a good one. Very nice. So let's talk about all the people who made this possible again. We have our organizing team. Let's give our organizing team a round of applause. Because without them, without our organizers, I wouldn't be up here. This wouldn't be happening this weekend. So thank you to our organizers. I want to thank our mentors. We had a great group of mentors. Let's give them a round of applause. Especially teams, you learned so much from them. Some of our other mentors. Give them a round of applause. That is our organizing team for Startup Week. did a lot of great work for the past week. And let's thank our sponsors. Give them a round of applause. We've got 20 Fathoms, North Michigan Angels, TC New Tech, Newton's Road, Haggerty, Boomerang Catapult, LLC, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, and Northwestern Michigan College. So thank you to all of our sponsors. And we've got all sorts of partners. Let's give our partners a round of applause. More awesome stuff. Some of our prize contributors, we had some tasty Jimmy John's for lunch. We also have some global sponsors, Google for Startups, GoDaddy Registry. Our participants got to walk away with some freebies, which was awesome. So like I said, Google for Startups, the GoDaddy Registry, and Miro are sponsors for every single startup weekend throughout the country. They get all sorts of cool stuff, and we don't have the winning teams yet. So that's my cue to take the judges outside. So go ahead and talk amongst yourselves for a few minutes.
TC New Tech, Scene 1A, Take 1. I started Sample Serve back in 2001, and we were a company that specialized in sampling. And then we started creating our own software to facilitate the sampling. So I needed to find people who were, doing code in Traverse City. I was literally at the dog park. I started talking to somebody and asked them, so what do you do? And they're like, well, I write software. And, I'm like, really, where do you work? And they're like, well, I work out of my house. And I thought, oh, very interesting. Again, the next day, different person, different dog, and asked the same question to somebody I was talking to. What do you do? And they're like, well, I write software and I work out of my house. And I'm like, I think there might be a bigger tech community in Traverse City. There were tech people in the community, but they just weren't connecting with one another. And so there had to be some kind of a way for people to
has spent a lot of time since, I guess, over a year ago. Keith and I had a beer at the workshop, and we're like, remember that startup weekend we did 8 years ago, apparently. Let's do that again, and let's make it crazier, because, I need to lose more hair. So we've been working hard all week and all year. Carrie, can you come up too? Carrie, a round of applause specifically for Carrie first. She was our lead organizer of the week. She worked extra hard all week. We really appreciate it, but I'm going to hand it off to Barb, and we're going to recap each event a little more with a few more details. So here's Barb.
Thank you. So we kicked off Startup Week with Space Night. This was held at the Denos Museum on the Northwestern Michigan College campus, which is a beautiful facility. And we partnered with Newton's Road. I'm with Newton's Road. We partnered with Atlas Space and Northwestern Michigan College on this event. And as you can see, there's the Milliken Auditorium up at the top that's right next to the Denos Museum, where we had 2 panels of astropreneurs from across the state of Michigan. One was focused on the current state of entrepreneurship within the space industry, and the second one was future oriented. This picture right here is of the 8 panelists that we had, plus the 2 local moderators for those panels in the center. Many of you know Katie, and she's from Up North Live Weather, not Jennifer, oops.
sorry. But anyway, we had two moderators for those panels, and we took questions from the audience. And one of the really cool things is that we worked to get young people to this event as well. And so there were outdoor in the Denos Art courtyard, there were exhibits, and many of them were youth focused. And also, we had several youth that got up and asked questions at the event. And I say for one of the coolest outcomes is after the panels were done, there was a high school senior from one of the Traverse City high schools who is going to Michigan this fall in a space-related program. And she raced down there to meet one of the companies that's in Ann Arbor to talk about internships. So I know connections were happening at that event, which is really awesome. And that's what we were really hoping for, in addition to having a lot of space enthusiasts in this region and having an opportunity to just network with others who share that interest. Who's next? You.
Yeah. I don't think we have a slide yet, but so yeah, and then on Tuesday, Northern Michigan Angels had a wonderful discussion with Casey Cowell of Boomerang Catapult and Zach Erlacher of Duo Security. So we were at the Stella there, and Amanda Dennison led us through a wine tasting of a couple of beautiful wines. We had one from Maria Vineyards. It was a Gamay Noir. It was beautiful. And then we had one from Left Foot Charlie. And then, but really the discussion was wonderful because, you know, it was a couple guys that have been in the trenches for a while and have been through some big investments and some big exits. But they're really talking about, you know, the startup ecosystem here and what we could think about for the future and future growth. So I think it was a great event by Northern Michigan Angels. Appreciate that. And then on Wednesday,
20 Fathoms hosted a really big party, and it was great. We had well over 100 people attend our event. We all gathered and toasted to our entrepreneurial community here in Traverse City. We also had a business expo, so people who work in the space could showcase their businesses and services that they offer, and provide a lot of networking opportunities. And then we gave out some awards to our community champions, so people who have particularly had a meaningful impact on the local innovation community in the last couple of years.
I'm Jennifer Zunko with TC New Tech, and for anybody that's not aware, we hold a pitch event the first Tuesday of every month. And so that's what we did on Thursday, but it was all university students. And in the audience today, we have presenters that presented on Thursday, and then they spent the weekend here involved in the Techstars Startup. We had students from 6 different universities around the state, and we had 8 different teams that presented. And it was, I thank all of you here in the audience that attended our event and are back again for today's pitch. Thank you.
I'm Keith Kelly from NMC.
And I'm Barb Tremont with Newton's Road.
And so on Friday night, we did the student pitch competition. So our goal here was to try and cultivate more startups here in Traverse City. So local startups, beginning with the high school students. So Barb, why don't you tell us a little bit about the program for the high school?
Sure. So I worked with some local schools to look at the programs that they have in place and find some good candidates who would be willing, on top of their work that they're doing during the year, to layer in learning about the engineering process in greater depth than what they might be already doing, and also the soft skills about how to present what you're doing, the benefits to others, and the impacts that it could have. So we learned a lot from these different teachers and the students. There were about 80 students involved, and about a dozen of them with each program chose a different, they chose who was going to represent them on the stage. And so in the room, we had about a dozen that were representing those 4 programs. We hope to really expand it next year into having more schools across the region involved. We already had one teacher who presented her class on Friday who said, I want in next year.
So we're hoping that that's going to be representative of the others involved as well, and that will help us in recruiting.
Yeah, and the second half of the evening was Northwestern Michigan College. So we took a little different approach to this. So we've had a makerspace for about 10 years and had some success with a couple of companies coming out of that makerspace. And we just wanted to promote a lot more of that and also expand it from what has been pretty much a focus on engineering technology to more of a cross-curricular opportunity for students at Northwestern Michigan College. So we created NMC's Startup Seminar class. So these students were all part of a class this semester. And over the 16-week semester, they went through 5 sprints. In the first sprint, they had to do ideation and come up with an idea. In the second sprint, we then formed teams and created what we thought were going to be good solutions. By the third sprint, then they actually created their MVP, so their minimum viable product. And they had that in the customer's hands and got feedback and iterated on that during the fourth sprint. And then, of course, the fifth sprint, they developed their pitch and practiced that in preparation for the competition. And I think one of the big takeaways for me for that was just all the community involvement, the support. The mentors were fantastic. They added so much to that classroom experience, and then also the judges as well, even during the competition with questions and so forth. So just a overall spectacular experience for those students. Thank you.
So then again, obviously for the weekend, we had our startup Grand Traverse team here, Startup Weekend Traverse City. And we had the entire team at the Innovation Center over at NMC for 54 hours of creation. So again, I want to reiterate that everything you saw tonight was created over the course of a weekend. This isn't one of the pitches that we often get where they may have been thinking about this for a while, maybe working on it for years. This was done in 54 hours. So I just want to reiterate how impressive a lot of what we saw was done by these amazing folks working hard with us over the weekend. And just another round of applause for our wonderful teams and participants here. Just another round of applause for our host for the week. And one more thing. Oh, if you want a T-shirt, these are vintage T-shirts of 2022 Northern Michigan Startup Week. There are several available at the desk over here for purchase. Again, these are going to be collector's items. 5 years from now, you'll be at 2025, and you'll be like, wow, I wish I had one of those first T-shirts from the first event we did back in 2022. So see Barb up at the table there for some lovely T-shirts.
Discounts available for multiple purchases.
Thank you. Thank you. And with that, I think we have a couple more minutes before the judge. So you have a slight bit of time. I think the bar is open if you want a beverage. Yeah, for the rest of it.
Show up at the same place at the same time. So we started TC New Tech in Traverse City and everyone got together. The concept is every month you have 5 businesses. They get 5 minutes to pitch their idea or concept and then 5 minutes of Q&A, and they just get up back to back. Pitching is of value, but the connecting afterwards of all like-minded people was the real value. It did require a lot of time and effort to pull things off, but it wasn't difficult because the demand seemed to be there. The people in the community, once they...
You ready to hear the winners? Okay. We had a fun deliberation. You all did a very good job this weekend. I'm very proud of all of you. These are some of the best ideas I've seen in all of the events I've done. So give yourselves a round of applause because you did a great job. So we're going to go reverse order. We're going to start with third place. So drum roll, please. Can I get a drum roll? Third place is SEA. Good job. Second place, drum roll, please. Second place, A to B. Great job, which means our winning team is Beyond Forests. Good job. Good job. So before we get out of here, I gotta find my clicker here. So we'll get past those. All right. Good job, everyone. So show some love to your community. If you're interested in helping to organize the next event, I'm sure our organizing team would love help. I know as a Startup Weekend organizer myself back in Iowa City, I can always use more help. So I always put the plea out there at the end of every single year. We say, just contact me, come talk to me. I need your help. Definitely attend the next event, which is TBA at the moment. This is supposed to be kind of the rebirth of this event from what I was told here in Northern Michigan. So there definitely will be more of these. So definitely tell your friends how much fun you had and drop by the next one. If you do feel like making the trip to Iowa City, that's going to be July 15th to 17th. So we're going to have fun there. And then, of course, connect. Stick around. We're going to, there are beverages. I've got my beverage hanging out over there. And talk to your community. So Techstars is the worldwide network that helps entrepreneurs succeed. This is just one of the things they do. They also do startup weeks. They do their accelerator programs all throughout the world. We've had 400,000 people go through just startup weekend programs since 2009. There have been over 6,000 events in that time frame, in over 150 countries and almost 1,500 different cities. So those numbers will be even larger after this year. So thank you all very much. And this has been great. Give yourselves one more round of applause. Thank you so much. That's it. You can all go get beer and wine and stuff now.